reaction now to the conversation that I had now with the spokesperson of the ANC in Gauteng. They are standing behind their chairperson, also premier of the province, Panyaza Lesufi. We are joined by Accountability Now Director, Advocate Paul Hoffman, South African Police Union spokesperson, Lesiba Thobakgale, and Independent Crime and Policing Consultant, Dr. Johan Berger. Gentlemen, good to have you. Thank you very much for coming on. Advocate Hoffman, let me start with you. I mean, one would say it's very difficult to argue against an extra pair of boots on the ground when you look at the crime situation in the country. The low number of law enforcement agents is a worrying incident, especially, for example, if you look at the July 2021 unrest, how overpowered our security forces were. So one would say the call for more boots on the ground is certainly one that is welcome. But there's been question around the lawfulness of how this process has been conducted. Province says, well, we couldn't sit and fold our arms, so we had to go and train some people, at least put them on the ground, let them be visible, let them prevent crime, let them deter crime. And now we can go and seek concurrence from all the ministers and all the various departments. Does the law allow for us to go that way about it? First, do our experiment on the ground, and then later go speak to the Minister of Police?
I'm afraid the law doesn't allow it, and that is why there's so much jumping around and such strong language between the Premier of Gauteng and the national ministers involved in this area of the law, the prevention and combating of crime. We have a single police service in South Africa in terms of our constitution, and provinces can only get involved if national legislation allow them to get involved. So I'm afraid Premier Lesufi is painting outside the lines when he seeks to create additional anti-crime activities through these crime wardens. We at Accountability Now are so concerned about this that we have laid a complaint against the Premier and his cabinet with the public protector in order to bring him back on the track of the Constitution. You know, our Constitution makes it very clear that the rule of law applies and that any conduct which is not consistent with the Constitution is invalid. Now, you need national legislation if a province wants to get involved in the crime and prevention area. And I'm afraid that just hasn't happened in this case. The Premier has dashed off on his own and created these crime wardens in a way that basically endangers the lives of the people who are employed as crime wardens and compounds the problem of criminality in Gauteng rather than solves it.
Yeah, I'll come back to you, and I want us to interrogate those sections of the Constitution a little bit more. But Lesiba, I'm sure as police officers, you would welcome the presence of crime prevention wardens on the ground, would you not?
Thank you, Butabo, for having us, and greetings to the fellow panel members. As the South African Policing Union, we, even before when they were established, we clearly welcomed more boots on the ground. Remember, when we look at the issue of crime, the problem of crime that we have in this country, and when we look at the capacity of SAPS, where we don't have enough manpower and even enough resources to fight crime. When you look at Gauteng, it is the hub of the economy, the influx of the population keeps growing time and again. So as a union, we clearly welcomed such a move, and we are still welcoming it because we have seen the difference that the crime wardens has brought when they came. Remember, police officers are not able to have the eyes and ears everywhere, and having a force multiplier that could be able to increase those eyes and to increase those ears on the ground and make sure that there is just more that is being done and making the job easier for the police officers. It is really assisting us in fighting crime, because here the goal is about fighting crime, which is quite important. If somebody could be saved from a hijacking, if a house could be saved from a house robbery, if a woman or a child could be saved from any form of rape or any other sexual act that is violent against them, if cash in transits could be decreased in this regard because of the force multiplier within Gauteng, we as a union, we could really, not support such an initiative. Imagine if such initiatives were done across all provinces. We believe that the statistics that we see when the Minister of Police is releasing the crime stats quarterly, they would not be the same.
Yeah. So do you see the legislative hurdles, I suppose, as a discouragement? Is it, sometimes we tend to say in the country, some of the laws that we have are actually prohibitive to the development that we want to see in the country. So the kind of crime fighting units that we want to see in our provinces could be prohibited in this particular instance by something as what we're talking about, Constitution Section 199, which says we only need one policing service in the country. So one can't just simply put together a security service of this nature. Do you find that to be prohibitive and something that would need to be amended?
Not really, Butabo. When you look at the initiative of Community Policing Forum, the collaboration with security companies, we still need even more of those that could really come up and collaborate with the police in order to make sure that the issue of fighting crime is clearly being dealt with. We don't see it as a prohibition. Yes, in this regard, there is issues of legislation that still need to be addressed. But then if there's an issue of legislation, what is it that you do? Are we saying that the Premier should close everything? Should he close shop? The communities that used to receive such services from the crime wardens in terms of the eyes and the ears, and even the patrols that we continue to see on the ground. Are we saying all of that must close? Are we saying that we must go back to where we were before because of legislative issues which are not resolved? We believe that the Premier and the Minister of Police could become bigger people and really sort out their issues that relates to legislation aside and make sure that they find one another at the end of the day, but not lose the eyes on the ball, because what we see on the ball with Thabo, it is really fighting crime. That is what it is close to our heart, and we believe it is what it is close to the hearts of our communities in terms of the services that they are receiving in Gauteng.
Yeah. Dr. Breger, there is a question around the training of the crime prevention wardens. You've got law enforcement officers or LEAP officers, for example, in the Western Cape, who are trained for 77 days. They are given their peace officer status. They are arresting people in their thousands from what we are seeing. Then you've got these crime prevention wardens in Gauteng. We're told they were trained for 3 months. They were trained via the Road Trafficking Training Academy, which is an accredited institution by the various accrediting bodies. Out there doing other saying work that police do, and they would have trained for 24 months. So when you look at the three, I mean, what fundamentally needs to happen there? Are they equipped certainly for the work that they are called out to do?
Absolutely not. That is certainly not sufficient. But, I have to go back to the announcement in April by Premier Lesiba, when he told the nation that these crime prevention wardens were appointed in terms of Section 334 of the Criminal Procedure Act as peace officers. So we all accepted at that time that this process was legal, it was legitimate, and you just needed to touch up on the training, ensure that, the training, because we doubted at the time that 3 months is far too short to provide the kind of training that would equip these crime prevention wardens to perform the duties that we all accepted they would have in terms of the government gazette that we never saw. So that, I think, started the confusion. We hear a lot of justification now from the spokesperson from the ANC about why we need them. I don't think the dispute is about whether we need them or not. It is whether they are legally and properly appointed to whatever position as peace officers, members of a municipal police service, or wherever they are deployed in whatever capacity. It needs to be within the ambit of the law. Then we can start to discuss about the training that is required to perform those duties for which they are appointed. So to start off this discussion, we were either ill-informed, or we were completely misled, or the persons who informed us themselves didn't know the proper legal process that had to be followed.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very confusing situation now. I have no discussion on possible political rivalries and infighting. To me, it is about policing. We certainly need more policing in South Africa, especially at the moment.
Yeah.
But we need this to be properly done within the framework of our law.
Agencies in place. Which one would have worked better here and would have been quicker, I suppose, for the Premier to be able to get the approval that he sought?
Yes, the approval is required under 334 and it hasn't been given. That's his problem. That's why Dr. Berger refers to the government gazette that we've never seen, because it doesn't exist. You see, you've got to go back to the Constitution. The Constitution is our supreme law. And Section 199.3, as you've already indicated in your interview with the spokesperson of the ANC in Gauteng, says in terms that it's for national legislation to set the parameters under which security services are appointed. And that hasn't been done in this case, which means that Premier Lesufi is acting as a law unto himself, and that, under Section 2 of the Constitution, is conduct that is inconsistent with the Constitution, and it is accordingly invalid. That is why Accountability Now has taken the matter up with the Public Protector, and we do hope that the Public Protector will give the situation the urgency that it deserves. Because we agree with Lesiba that there is a need for more boots on the ground. We agree with Johan that if we don't beef up our security services in South Africa, the crime situation is going to go from bad to worse.
Yeah.
But you can't possibly do so simply because you wake up one morning and think it would be a good idea to have crime wardens and let's just create them willy-nilly without reference to the legal framework that applies. The legal framework is such that national legislation has to be invoked in order to get to the point where a provincial crime warden situation is legal. What we have in Gauteng appears to us on the face of it to be illegal, and the fact that Premier Lesufi is now making bellicose noises in respect of his counterparts at national level tells us that he knows that what he has done is illegal, and he's trying to bully his way out of the situation, out of the corner into which he has painted himself. And that, I'm afraid, is not good governance.
Yeah.
Good governance would have required that when the need for these crime prevention wardens was identified in Gauteng, that the Gauteng government would have gone to the national government and obtained the necessary permission to create a new armed security service. And it's absolutely no good sending in the crime wardens unarmed, because they're taking a knife to a gunfight. They're not going to be able to protect themselves in a situation in which violent crime is certainly at a level that is unacceptable throughout the country, not only in Gauteng.
I am out of time. I've got about a minute or so left. Lesiba, quickly, should the crime prevention wardens be approved and be recognized?
Yeah, from our side, Thabo, though I didn't hear you clearly, but we support that whatever issues, we don't promote not following the law. I think that should be clear. The rule of law is what is applicable to us. We subscribe to that as a union. And in this case, really, we hope that whatever issues that is still outstanding could be resolved, because unfortunately, it is not a situation where we are speaking about something that is still about to come, but we are speaking about something that is that is active already. We have the crime wardens who are working already. We have seen the successes. We have seen even their struggles that they have, but we have seen the impact that they came with, and we even have some of them being our members as a union. We need to say that. So we really are hopeful that, because unemployment was also addressed in this initiative, and also the issue of crime is being addressed, we hope that whatever issues that are still outstanding should be clearly dealt with, so that they could really be legal as it is in terms of the requirement of the law, and for them to continue bringing a difference and making sure that our communities in Gauteng are being kept safe, and maybe for the same thing to really go across all the provinces in accordance.
Yeah. Dr. Berger, a quick minute. What sort of training should they be getting?
Well, again, it depends on what they are appointed for. If they are appointed as peace officers, you have to look at the types of crimes that will be given to them in terms of the government gazette. So that needs to be specified. It needs to be very specific, because they don't have the same powers, broad powers as the police do. So their powers can be relatively wide in terms of or how it's specified.
Right.
But it has to be specified. Once that is done, then you can start to work on what their training should look like. For example, they need to understand the types of laws, acts, legislation that they have to enforce.
Dr. Berger, unfortunately, because of time, let's leave it there. Much appreciated. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on.